Democrats are concerned about what family members of the president.
Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Thursday, February 5th, and the mayhem continues, I guess. Looks like this morning. We were just kind of holding on here. If I started looking at this on about a little bit after 7, and holy Moses just immediately started selling off. I almost started thinking I caused it, but they right here at the 7 o'clock. They started selling, and they've been kept at it for a bit now. Finally found some support and back, retracing a little bit, but man, that's been pretty ugly. So let's see here, the ES. Pull this guy up. The mayhem continues, but the ES hasn't been so bad. Nasdaq is the one which is getting creamed. That's the one which is really taking it on the chin. News this morning, we had a job cut report come out, 108,000. The prior was 35, so much bigger than expected number there. It came out at 7:30 Eastern. After that, we're going to get jobless claims at 8:30, and we have job opening. Joel's coming out here at 10 today. Okay, so that's with something which was moved then, since the shutdown is over. Maybe we'll get the, no, I'm not seeing the employment situation on Friday right now. That's gone. They're probably coming out next week. So this week, today we have a jobless claim and job openings at 8:30 and 10, and that's about it. And then on tomorrow we get consumer sentiment at 10, and no employment situation listed there right now. All going to come out next week. So that's the news we have. So far, I think the overall weakness continues, and you can see here they just took out support here on the ES with a few ticks. It passed my time for modification. I modified the Nasdaq a little bit, but I didn't do anything on the ES, so they will stop run right there, and then they're slowly drifting right back up again. But the ES is down here at the lower levels, at the 68, 50, 60s, and key support. Then the next level after that's going to be the 68.20s. Below that one, bets are off. I think we're looking at the correction if that starts happening. So we've been seeing several days of weakness now. Nasdaq is the one really taking it on the chin, even if tech earnings has been pretty darn good. So it's kind of defies common sense a little bit that it's working like that, the rotation into something else. But the market is going to do what it's going to do. As you listen to people, analysts and investors or fund managers on various news shows, you'll hear their take on it and rotation into industrials or whatnot. And the AI trade is overdone and overbought and too concentrated and so on and so forth. You just have to take all that stuff with a grain of salt. If you can trade like that and keep rotating into different sector, that's a pretty active retail investor. I'm just going to sit with my AI trade and see if that one can wait for that one to recover. But that's going to stick around. I mean, all this fear in the labor market right now is because of the AI trade. It's because of that. We're seeing jobs disappear, replaced by basic AI functions. And if you haven't used it, I don't know if you use it right now or not, but if you haven't used Grok or used Copilot in Windows, you'll try using it. You'll be surprised how good it is. Anyway, so starting off this morning, bias is to the downside. So starting off range bound, they kind of ended up closing close to this 69.50. So you can see how the overnight has just been weak all the way down here to the lows. And so I would start from the short side, look and see if they can take this lower. So I'm going to be looking to sell against strength 85s and the 95s for rotations down. If they trade up above the 95s, I'm probably taking off the short bias and going back more range bound. 95 is going to be, or 7,000 is going to be close to this big ledge. If they can get up into this previous value area, I think we have at least a shot at staying in the range. But as long as they stay below this level, the 68 and 90 to 95s. I'm going to be on the short side of this, see if they can retest the lows, potentially take this lower. So yeah, we're in for a little bit of a ride, I think. So we just had to kind of sit through this, and volatility has been way up. So I mean, yesterday I didn't even put on a trade. It's been nothing less than kind of crazy. So especially when it starts whipping back and forth really violently, then it's just it's almost impossible to sit in a trade or get. You can get in a trade, but staying in it is hard. It can be right, and then suddenly you're wrong, because it's whipping back and forth so hard. So you have to be really particular with your trade location and trade with a little bit bigger stop, and then just kind of keep your fingers crossed that it doesn't whip against you. If you get in on a good trade, though, then you'll be handsomely rewarded, because when it moves, it does move pretty good. So staying on the short side right now, looking to sell against strength, 85s, 95s. If you get up above the 95 and the 7,000s, I will be taking off the short bias, going back more range bound and back up in this upper range. All right, so that's kind of how I get started. I would really like to see, before I start thinking about any kind of retracement, I would start. You can have to see this 69, 20, and 30 come out, the session highs. So the London session high, the session highs. If both of them comes out, maybe we have a little bit of a retracement going on. But right now it looks pretty gloomy to get started in the trading day. So we're starting off from the short side. Let's see how far they can take it on the downside. And I mean, it doesn't really matter so much for our trading. For your 401k, it matters, but not so much for our trading, which direction it goes, as long as it moves. However, it's when it gets too volatile, it makes it really difficult to get in and stick with a trade. So that's the only caveat we have to deal with. But anyway, so that's how we get started on the ES, and we have news at 8:30 and 10. Now looking at the looking at the Nasdaq, that's the one which is really taking it on the chin. And you can see Nasdaq is just not looking very pretty at all. Yeah, right. They backed off. So they backed off quite a bit. They're taking out all these lows, all these support areas already. They're heading down to this support area at the 24,400s. This big chunk of low volume. That's where they're heading. I'd not be surprised if they get there. So, and at this point, I'm starting off from the short chart on the Nasdaq, and you can see how Nasdaq was heading lower at a pretty good clip. Now, I was watching this start happening. I was super tempted to pop on a trade, but as you see, when it happens early on in the morning like this, it kind of takes you a little bit by surprise, and you don't want to chase it. You want to kind of, and it's hard. Sometimes you just have to stop thinking about it so much. You kind of just kind of get in when you start seeing something move like this. I did not. I was just kind of sitting on the sidelines, watching it, doing the analysis, kind of. And I said, when you start seeing this move, taking out the support right here at the 920s, I thought, okay. And then take out support at the 870s. Okay, maybe suddenly you find yourself running out the runway. So, trading. Starting off from the short side, though, looking to sell strength for rotations down. On the Nasdaq, they got some work to do. They had to get up above that 25,000 before we even start, or 25,100, sorry, before we even start thinking about taking off the short bias. So, staying on the short side on the Nasdaq. Now, there is plenty of long opportunities, but also more whipsaw snapback trades. So you really have to pay attention to if the market is extending and it starts snapping back. That's when you get those running over the weak short dynamic, and that's your long trades. That's the best you can do on the long side of it. And it's a trade you have to be really nimble on if you want to try to take it, because it happens quickly and it's violent, and then you have to get out quickly too. It's not going to retrace all the way as a big long trade. It's not the low you're looking for. You're looking for a momentum burst to the upside where they shake out a bunch of weak short positions. And if you get in early on that trade, then you have a good shot at getting a little bit out of it. You have to kind of get in, get out pretty quick on those kind of trades. But starting off on the short side on the Nasdaq, if they can trade up above the area, the 25,100 and the 25,170s, this is those two areas. Then we are back up in a spot where we can take off the short bias. But I would look to sell strength against the 820s, 880s, 930s, 980s, up to the 25.1 and 25.170. These two, if it gets that far up, then we're going to be in pretty good shape, I think, for to potentially take it out. But Nasdaq can do some weird stuff, so I would still look for short setups up here, and I would look for a pretty convincing move above that level, the 170, before I start thinking about a retracement trade. So you can see once you get up there, you run into the reversal zone, the reverse retest of these two support areas. It used to be support, now they're going to be resistance on the way up. So the 170 is the same right there, and here you have the 230s. So these three areas have to come out. I would start taking off the short bias and be above that 170 though, and then see how far I can take it from there. But we'll see. If we're even going to see a shot of that. But these bars are big, and it's a lot of range right now. This is at 25,000 down to the 24 cents. So this is 300 points down. They just took it down like that. So it's really difficult. That little baby bar over here is 820 up to 930. No, that's not it. This is 900 up to 930. So this is at 30 ticks almost. This little bar there. So in 30 ticks, that's 200 and that's times 4, so 120 ticks. So that's how big that bar is. And if you look at the if you trade with an 80 tick stop, for instance, again, which I'm doing, 80 tick stop doesn't quite cut it. So you get in on a bar like that, you'll see the stop is right there. It says barely moving. You had to be really cautious trying to trade this stuff. You had to put a much bigger stops on, or don't trade it at all. Right? Trying to time it when it comes up to tab it here. When you realize that your stop size is as big as is barely making it at the edge here, they yes, had to be really cautious about it. So that's the only caveat I have. It's just trade with caution, or just sit on the sidelines until things calm down. There's no point of re-engaging it and being too aggressive unless you can trade with the correct stop size. All right, so that's the ES and Nasdaq. So ES, both of them starting from the short side. We know when to change bias on the ES. That's going to be above that 69.95 to 7,000s. And on the Nasdaq, that's going to be way up here against the 25/100s. And yeah, 100 to 170s. So that's the ES and the Nasdaq to get started this morning. On the bonds side of things, bonds market is just yawning at this whole thing. They're like, okay, whatever, you guys can keep doing what you're doing, but they're not moving a whole lot. So that's the same story there, just range bound trading. To sell strength against the 26s, they want 15s, they want 1505s. To buy weakness against 1414s, 1408s down to the 114s. So pretty much 3 levels up, 3 levels down. That's pretty much the range we are getting right now. So I'm still just looking for my same setups. It's just kind of when they happen, I'll try to take them. But unfortunately, sometimes you miss, you don't pay attention to your chart, so you kind of miss it. But that's how it goes. All right, guys. So bond market range bound, ES, Nasdaq to the short side. Nasdaq is the one really getting hammered. So let's see how this whole day shakes out. And then we got news in about 10 minutes. That's your jobless claims report, and then Joel's at 10. Alrighty, guys, we'll wrap it there. So good trading, and I'll see you guys back at 11:30 for the next update. All right, guys, later.